to keep on brand.
So, our backgrounds shared, I mean, we both actually have done startups. We've both done
Yep.
big corporations, and this tends to sort of gravitate towards a big corporation.
Yeah.
But how does a small company take advantage of something like this? Is this something that is still a little bit too big for them? Is it a scale game?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think to me, I think it's more about the organization's philosophy, around innovation and around adoption of new technologies and moving forward. In a way, first mover advantage is by getting into the platform. It's not an expensive entry.
Yeah.
The digital twin is not difficult to do. It's maybe a 12-week process.
And you mentioned the framework for doing such a thing has already existed.
So it existed. Yeah. So it's not such of an effort. If you're a small drinks company in Switzerland, there's no reason you can't get on this with 4 products, and you're up and running quite quickly. To me, it's mainly about the organization and the organization's ability to really encapsulate what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think the big bucks are definitely when you're talking hundreds of millions and you're talking the Nestle's and the Unilevers, it's kind of obvious. But I think those smaller companies can still take advantage of it. It's a transactional-based system.
But I also see it as a way of working. I also see, it's a transactional-based system for sure, but it's a transactional-based system that sort of drives, to your earlier point, a new way of working. And if a smaller company starts to get into this now, they actually don't know a different way of doing it. You know what I mean?
I think you're right. And I think, look, one of the big things about small companies is how do you grow? And I agree with you, your GTM is your biggest concern.
Yeah.
How the hell do I grow out of Europe and into other markets? Mm-hmm. And if you can't get that content into the market, you can't launch in the market. Once you're into a digital twin, you alleviate some of that, problems about accessing content into the market with the right terminology and the right compliance. Mm-hmm. So I think it will change, the ability for small companies to really take their outreach way beyond. I think the biggest challenge, again, we go back to, and it is alignment with your media companies, alignment with your agencies, alignment with your production company, and internal. You've got to sit down and say, guys, things are going to change. It's interesting. There was a recent interview with Diageo, who have utilizing the platform across all of their drinks portfolio. And the question was to the chief digital officers, how has it changed your relationship with your agencies? And she said, fundamentally.
Okay.
Fundamentally, we had to bring them in and say things are changing, and you either have to come with us on this trip, or we're going to go on the trip by ourselves. So you've got to kind of realign your processes and your services within our new platform. You're not going to be external and fighters. So I think the challenge of it is there, and that's why you're seeing companies like WPP moving towards a technology, mm-hmm. and then you're seeing Accenture that we see as a technology SI taking it to move into the agency. So I think it's an interesting move.
I do, and it's something where, again, by changing the way of working, you really do. You can say upend, you can say streamline, you could say improve or trash and reinvent a process that has been decades old, right? Mm-hmm. And so I can see then how, from the standpoint of the digital shelf, and this is, again, the digital shelf was our obsession for so many years until data came around and we forgot about the digital shelf. Yeah. But now we're beginning to put the two together.
We are.
Right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Look, I think the digital shelf is so important because we know product fidelity is everything, driving trust with consumers, driving reachability, usability. We're so kind of prone to this now. I think, in a way, Apple and some of the Samsungs of our lives have really changed the way that we think of product and the value they should be. And if you can encapsulate that now in a model that's repetitive, it takes you a long way further forward, mm-hmm. with authenticity with the consumer. But I think, these ways of working and changes, to me, it's a little bit like the industry we've just come out of, the tobacco industry. And when I went to it, people go, "What, are you crazy going in tobacco?" And I said, really, the switch from smoking tobacco to smoke-free experiences wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the same with the digital twin. So my experience is, for what I'm seeing is denial, because it's like, not now, I don't want to see it. But I think for anybody who's in that CPG, FMCG, if you're not looking at digital twins now, you're overlooking one of the most basic elements of digital transformation that you can achieve now. And I think we've all read this. You don't have to read the press to see 95% of AI initiatives fail because they don't have a long-term vision or they don't have a long-term outcome that's measurable. So they get implemented, then they fail. And most of those, by the way, are stuck by the internal structure of the enterprise. You've now got something which is being proven. I've just given you 5 user cases with fundamental value back to the company in terms of cost savings. This truck has left, this boat has left the dock on this lake. And if you're left on the dock, you are really left on the dock because you have to get into this platform. It's not a platform. My advice to people is that this is not a 5-minute journey. Think about what you want to do. Think about where you want to go as an organization. And I mean 3 to 5 years. And then start building your content strategy with the platform aligned to that. Because if you miss that out, you're going to get caught again. So I think this is the point to me, is that you have to be on this journey. Honestly, if you're CMO, CDO, Chief Global Brand President, you better understand what the digital twin means to your business, because those who are on it are going to make significant gains in the market, and you're going to be left with maybe the petrol car with the leaded petrol.
Leaded petrol, exactly.
On the side.
Diesel without the scrubber.
That's right.
So then what's going to be the biggest challenge for a company of any kind to implement something like this? It's a pretty significant change, or need it not be?
No, I don't think need to be. I think if you can really grasp the ideation of the process and what it means, and you can really visualize the outcome. And I think this is part of the challenge always. It's very difficult when you can't visualize. It's like an artist who doesn't know what they want to paint. The painting's not going to be very good, And as we know, in a way, artists are more scientific in the way they pursue their outcome than we think. We think, oh, they're just an artist, they're good at painting. No, they're not. They're numbers. They're numbers people. They know exactly what the layers are doing, and they think about 18 steps. It's like a joiner. They're 18 steps in front because they know what the final output should be. That's why they don't use an instruction manual.
Right.
Okay? And it's the same with this process. And if you think about it, Tony, we've been in this. The reason you put a process in place, so let's take marketing, I'll get back onto the answer, but let's take marketing. The reason we put workflow tools in place is because the workflow doesn't work. There's some.
It's not obvious.
It's not obvious, but we kind of, let's put a workflow system. It's not like, well, we're putting it in because actually this process here doesn't work. Our approval process is broken. So let's put a software system in place to tell us it's broken. It doesn't fix the outcome. I've never seen, and I've been workflow a long time. I've never seen workflow tools accelerate the process. What they do is identify the problems and challenges you've got, but don't fix them. They're doing away, but they don't, because it's still there. The process A goes to B, then it stops at C. Why? Why is it doing this? And I think the technology, in a way, is saying, well, this process now is encapsulated within the platform. So you don't have these workflow issues.
Got it.
Because there's no need, because it's flowing through the platform with compliance with the rule set. So look, I think the biggest challenge, 2 things here. One, get a grip of your budget. Okay, let's be honest. Okay, so how many times have we sat at budget reviews going, where do we find the money? What about your money's going to come from what you're spending? Okay, so if you're saying $100 million budget, you've got the money. This money's just been spent badly.
Or $100,000.
Or 100,000. Don't care. Whatever it is.
Whatever.
You know you're going to take cost savings out. So your money's there. You just now need to shift that money gradually into the new process that's going to help you accelerate your outcome. So you have to sit down with finance and your budget planners and figure out how you shift this money. Then I think the other one is mindset. And we said this, you've really got to have the vision in the company of this 3 to 5 year vision, and then work it back, because it's a long-term investment. And your initial outlay is going to pay you rewards down the line if you know exactly where you're going. But I think the challenge is that. The other one will be get IT on board, make sure you're compliant and regulated, etc. And you're really going to have to probably pull a small unit out, to really focus on how they execute in the new world. And then,
what do you mean small unit?
Well, I think you need to take a small group of
like a pilot.
Take a pilot focus group and pull out some key players and say, look, you're going to live in the new world.
Got it.
And you're going to push what you said earlier. AI is about not teaching people to use it, it's getting people to use it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think this is where you need to be. You need to pull it out as a pilot and go and play with it and execute it, and then go back to them and say, look, this is what we found. But I think the beauty of it is, with the digital twin in content, we are lucky there's a visual world we live in. So the outcomes are going to be obvious.
I mean, even more so than ever before, which and I made reference to this in one of my earlier columns about how, I'm releasing this record, and so I've got to make music videos. And you realize, well, gosh, MTV's been around since the 80s, but music videos are now more important than ever. And the job of MTV has been distributed among all these different platforms now.
Yeah.
But it's still there. And so, you have to sort of align with how consumers are consuming information, and it's very different from the way it continues to evolve,
It does. I mean, how many channels do we have to occupy? And it's different by different products and different associations of that product from demographics and audience. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, it's kind of funny. You talk about music, we've now got physical LPs back in stores, as popular as ever. I'll go out with my kids and they go, what's a needle, Dad? And you get these rotations around, don't you? We look at things like, product fidelity and product quality now is big to us, where it used to be a throwaway disposable in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of rotation, don't you? What I call the 30-year cycle. All the time things rotate. Even people now purchasing mobile phones without cameras in them. They're going back to Nokia's because
dumb phones.
I mean, I quite like the Nokia 93 because it lasted for a week on one charge. What I mean? Now you're kind of having arguments with people in airports. To get power, and we think we're moving forward. So look, I think it's interesting terms, but without a doubt, our world of content. I think what is interesting for me is I think there's always been a little bit of separation between the product and the experience. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing now is bringing these together. And we're seeing this, all over the internet with Gen AI being able to kind of interpret, our visual acuity. And we see this with Google Nano Banana. I mean, every day there's a new one being launched. I think these are great, but they're very easy to consume, but there's no compliance and governance around them. So when you look at these kind of mid-journey platforms and all the other ones around content, yes, I see a lot of people on LinkedIn going, don't worry, you can do this. There's no compliance around these systems.
Yeah.
Okay, they're open. There's no copyright controls in them. The LLMs aren't trained on copyrighted data.
Yeah.
We've seen this with use of talent rights. Things like the digital twin and these platforms have talent rights built into them. So there's platforms like Bria.
Yeah.
So for instance, going back onto this, Bria is the first European approved AI platform for copyright. Okay. So it means it's closed. There's no content in there that will be a copyright infringement. But not only that, you attach Bria to your digital twin, it actually automatically works out your digital rights payments through the platform.
Yeah.
And it does it on placement.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely, every time an actor goes into a scene, Bria connects it, rights management is done automatically.
Yeah, I see.
How many times have we been in where we're doing digital rights management? Do we buy it globally? Do we buy it locally?
You've got a 2-week, and it's not legal's fault, but you got a 2-week lag of them reviewing a 6-second video to make sure, that model is wearing a pair of sneakers that, no, it's not an actual real brand, but it looks enough like that real brand. We're going to need to ... right?
You've got it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are kind of almost the stuff below the iceberg.
What are the metrics we're going to use to judge success, or if it's time to go in a different direction?
I think our maturity around performance management and performance measurement is pretty well averse now. I mean, we're all aware of MTA and mixed media modeling, and then you bring those together for performance measurement. And then I think when you look at the journeys, whether it's your cost of acquisition or your lifetime value, which are your big ones, on the front and on the back end of the consumer journey, stay the same. So I think what you're going to see here in terms of performance is going to be things like time to market, right first time. You're going to have much more, by the way, you're going to have much more controls over your cost structure.
Okay.
Because it's a tokenized system.
So cost reduction,
huge.
More efficiencies.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. If you go into one of these platforms and you search for an asset, if that asset's already been generated, you can use it free of charge. you don't pay for it again.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time when you go into it, and the more you've kind of put into it, you end up not building any new content.
Right.
So you don't pay for it.
Yeah.
You just take the media size you want, and it re-engineers your format, whether it's for a short or for it's an outdoor display. You just pull it off, and you've already paid for it because it's been done in technology. So the license is actually quite a cool license. It's not it's a transactional creativity, but it's not transactional based on usage. So that is kind of cool. So you can see why these figures are so dramatic.
Yeah.
Because when Coca-Cola came back and said, we've taken 100 million down to 20, you go, oh yeah, I'm sure you have. Like nobody shifts. Yeah, 80%. Come on.
Right.
How many times have we been in business where you shift 80% of your cost structure?
Yeah, no
Impossible.
way. No way.
And this is Coke. So you either sit there and go, you're the biggest liars in the world, or they go, actually, I've just given $80 million back to the brand.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing the same in Diageo and the same in Unilever. These figures don't lie. Why? Because it's all built into the system.
Yeah.
And these tokenized systems, they literally put the budget in, it will do all the purchase orders management for you. So look, I think the measurement, you keep the same. I think you're just going to simplify it a little bit more because you're not using so many workflow processes. If you think about the problem we've had, Tony, is that at every part of the ideation, the strategy, the design, the development, the production, and execution, there's costs.
Yeah.
Trying to bring those costs together, as we know, within any organization is a massive overhead. Yeah, and you're trying to find, did that come from your budget? Is that in that budget? How many revisions were done? How many times have we been in here? You know, our contract is what, 1, 2, or 3 revisions. There are no revisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the revisions, it's 98% right first time.
Yeah. You get a 98 on a test, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah. So look,
I mean,
think,
I am, because I'm like,
yeah,
lazy.
look, I think the biggest challenge is go into a company and really get the truth. And if you go into a big company and say, look, can we really sit down and what is your marketing budget? And, you know, for Diageo to kind of go to press and campaign saying, actually, we spend $3.26 billion a year on marketing, and we have 16% of that is content production, someone knows their figures.
Yeah.
Because you can go into many companies and go, what do you spend on marketing? It's like, kind of like, don't kind of know where that is, you know.
Or I know the number, and how does that split up? That I don't know.
That I don't know.
Yeah, I pay my agency this, and
It's kind of a black box and don't worry about it. So look, I think this is the big thing, is that are you prepared to go in and ask these difficult questions? Are you prepared to get marketing procurement in, you know, to really extract and see where these budgets are and allocated, and we've seen it before, duplication and replication. How many times have we seen, you know, a cross-charging into the markets from central, you know, this kind of thing that happens. So you kind of really got to go in and I think really sit down with your procurement and brand and really start breaking down exactly where you're spending the money. Because if you can't do this, then I don't think you've got clarity on where the outcome is.
yeah.
Yeah, so that to me is it, not so much the process. I'm not here to say turquoise is your favorite color and these are the kind of bottles you should use. It's not the conversation. No. It's all about the money.
Right.
And if you can find that money, then you can start breaking that money into the platform, and that's when you'll find those cost savings.
Right. Yeah. Right. All right. So normally a question I would never ask unless we both had a pint in our hands, but I'm going to ask it anyway because we have coffee and water.
Too early.
Put your wizard cap on, and where do you think this is going to be in the next 18 months?
Well, look, I think you know, marketing tech, as we've both worked in for 20 years, has always been very exciting. Almost, you know, almost in a way, the most exciting part of technology has always been driven, I think, in marketing and brand, because the expression of what you achieve is in front of you, and you see the results. I think there's no doubt the controls that we're seeing around the digital twin, this ability to build an object. If you, let me rephrase this again, go back. If you think where we were on web development, and we've all been in here, HTML really helped us to be completely transparent and mobile. We can take HTML code and put it any application front end, and it will render the same experience. So my view of it is, think of it that way. You're basically putting an HTML wrapper around a product now. Now it becomes transposable, it becomes mobile, it becomes an object that you can use anywhere, whether you're putting that into a manufacturing machine design for a Coke bottle to make sure it goes on a rack, whether it goes on a shelf, whether it goes, you know, to a festival. I think what you're seeing now is the ability to easily access, you know, these objects, being able to use Gen IA to really generate the images that you need, and they are absolutely mind-boggling. Just to let you know.
Oh yeah.
And the next one is, and we haven't talked about that, is really video.
Yeah.
So this actually, there's two outputs. There's one which is a physical element, but we're now actually doing this in video.
Okay.
And in fact, Yamaha have just used Grip to do their latest video, and it transposes people's images through the platform. So it's a fabulous piece of ad work. As the consumer works forward, they transpose that consumer between different people.
Okay.
And this is all done by AI. It's all done in Grip.
Yeah.
And all the shadows and the backgrounds actually alter because of that character in front. So you cannot believe it. I mean, there's no gaps, there's no edging, there's no nothing. It's absolutely pixel perfect.
Yeah.
The background changes as the individual works forward, and actually the video gets darker as the light gets blacked out.
Yeah. No, it's
incredible.
It is incredible. My own experience recently with AI-driven videos was mind-boggling. And again, going back to your earlier point about the metrics, the mind-boggling part of it was the level of quality I was getting for the amount of money I was paying. And it wasn't because I was taking advantage of somebody living in a low-wage country. It's because for what I needed, because AI video is not right for everything.
No.
It really isn't.
No.
And you have to be careful with it because you get bad actors, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to even go there. But boy, if you're focused on what you want and you're clear about it and you can provide the right inputs, the right prompts, it's really mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I mean, I've seen some just basic things that we would think nothing of. A Thanksgiving celebration with Coca-Cola, where they literally can swap out the images on the plates. They can swap out the table from granite to wood to a dark wood. They can change the lighting. They can remove individuals, and the background is there. You go, how come the background is there? I mean, you've never seen anything like it. Where, in fact, everything
it reacts.
Every part of the environment is digitized as a twin. So the flowers change. You change it from a rose to a carnation, and the image background just fills with the shadow.
Yeah.
And you go,
I know.
How the hell are you doing this?
Yeah.
You can even do it time of the day. And if you pull in from the API, changes on the time of the day, the lighting will change from east to west.
Yeah.
And you're just going, how do you? So to me, the two big things here is that this kind of digital twin is really going to accelerate personalization. Because remember, the problem with personalization is to be able to get enough content to do
to be able to personalize.
To do the but that is a fixed element that either comes from a Photoshop or Illustrator. But with Gen AI built in, it's transposing that in real time. Yeah, by doing the overlays, it knows where the sun should be in the northern hemisphere at that time.
Oh, they're having lunch. So it's got to be like this.
So this rendition is literally a clock rendition that goes through that you don't have to do anything to anymore. So I think that's the fascinating bit where these objects really give you that power in your marketing. And I think, where do I see it going in the next 1-3 years? I think you will see an acceleration. And look, uptake by big corporations don't lie.
Right.
Yeah. So look, let's
follow the money.
Yeah. So let's be honest. If you've got a reputation of a CDO and you want to have an impact on the business, you better bring something that changes the outcome. Yeah. When the CEO is being bashed by the shareholders about their transformation, it's not quick enough. They're not seeing a visual representation of it. You've got access to get it done. So I think my view of this, again, not the if and when, but when you've got Nestle, Unilever, Coca-Cola, Diageo, and I can go on, LVMH. I mean, look at Louis Vuitton. You're telling me, when people say, oh, yeah, but the quality is not there, we're talking about Louis Vuitton. Okay?
Right.
So if you say these technologies are not good enough for the fidelity of my brand, go and question Louis Vuitton while they're running 3 million executions through this platform on 50 of their brands a year.
Yeah. If that doesn't do it, nothing will.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Have a good day.
As always.
Cheers.
Take care.